They'll say, there we go. Good
All right.
morning. Glenell High School in Glenell, Maryland is talking, presenting on our CubeSat solar panel deployer.
Excellent. Tell me about it, guys.
For sharing it
That,
right now.
Just trying to find the share. It's all he's just got uh like error messages on his share ability right now. So we're just trying to
Oh,
see the
okay.
screen.
yeah, because I forgot to share it. And Tracy, we hope you're feeling better.
Oh, yeah. I'm currently using my mom's computer, so it's under Tracy,
Oh, it's
unfortunately.
under
Oh,
Tracy.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Is it a Google Chrome that it's in? It
Yeah.
yeah, is it that one? Could be some other random Google Chrome, so he's a little nervous to click it.
Oh
All
no.
all their
Take the
college stuffs are due today too, so they've been working hard at that.
Oh my goodness.
God. Okay. It.
Oh, is it going to kick you out of the meeting? Click
Mm,
cancel. There you go. Try again. Go to share. There you
oh,
go.
there.
There you go. Now it's better. All
Yeah.
right. So now, what is it? That one right there?
Yeah.
Yes.
All
It's
Now it's
right.
beautiful. Okay. That was a different one.
yeah.
That was a
But
MacBook. I'm blaming this one on a Mac user.
oh
Mm.
my goodness. And hit the slideshow.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So
Yes,
all
perfect.
Google Connected. Google Connected.
So it's Will. I will.
Yeah.
Stay well.
Are we good to start?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
All
whenever
right.
you're ready.
I'm Will Heller,
I'm Ishan Joshi. And I'm Gavin Berovic. And we
and
go
we're
to
Wake
Glenelg High
Systems, and we're
School.
doing the CubeSat Solar Deployer.
Yep.
So what is a CubeSat? A CubeSat is a cost-effective satellite that can vary from $10,000 to $1.5 million. They utilize solar panels, use for research missions, and are model and use. And the current problem with CubeSats is that they currently can't generate over 100 watts. There are high component costs and a lot of hardware failures and orientation issues.
All right. So the ISS deploys nanosatellites known as CubeSats in order to conduct research missions. Currently, they use side-mounted solar arrays in order to power themselves. Right now, these don't really correctly compensate for the fact CubeSats can't orientate themselves, so they only accept around 60% of the incoming light as reported by NASA. In addition, these side-mounted solar arrays take a lot of the heat from the sun and directly transmit it to the main body of the CubeSat, causing a lot of heat issues. Pumpkin Space, a CubeSat manufacturer, has found that 93, or a CubeSat has gone from 93 degrees Fahrenheit to 334 degrees Fahrenheit in under a minute, completely ruining the CubeSat. We intend to make a solar panel deployer that solves both of these issues.
So we wanted to ask if people were affected by this issue. So we sent out a survey and we got a total of 120 respondents. We got most of the responses were from the age of 12 to 25, and people had an above average interest in space missions. And we were wondering if people were willing to help fund a CubeSat or help invest in a CubeSat because they are very expensive. And 73 people said no. 43 of these people elaborated further on why they said no. 16 people said there's just lack of info. 16 other people said that the prices of CubeSats are simply just too high. And 11 just have a lack of interest. I mean, 60.8% aren't interested in investing in a CubeSat.
So how do you reduce the 60.8% of people that aren't investing? Or a solar panel design would improve upon that or lower that percentage by reducing cost of components or reduce the solar panel deployer itself. It would also possibly reduce the energy required or the battery size needed because the system would be more efficient. It would also show the application of CubeSats. By increasing the emissions available and the length of missions by increasing the power output and storage, it could improve the amount of research we're done by CubeSats. I know what a satellite is because of the amount of research done by it. So what if we could increase CubeSat research and therefore bring it to more people?
So some models on the market right now, Endurasat, a 1U model, its total power that it can generate is 24.5 watts. Its price is around $66,000. Its frame material is aluminum 6082, which is a space grade metal. Its operating voltage is 5.5 volts. Its dimensions are 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters. And the energy storage is 10.2 watts. And on the right, you'll see a picture of the model. And this is a Blue Canyon model. This is a 3U model. Its total power is 58.8 watts. Its price, quote-based, is around $440,000. Its frame material is made out of aluminum. It didn't specify what type, though. Its payload power is 3.3 volts. Its dimensions are 10 by 10 by 30 centimeters because this is a 3U model. And its energy storage is 22.4 watt hours. And on the right, you'll see a photo of the model.
So how would our CubeSat solar panel deployer be any different from these other ones? The main difference is that we're no longer using the side-mounted panels. You're instead using an entirely new U, as you see on the right, is a little diagram. It will be a 2U main body and an entire new U of just the deployer on top. So it would obviously have to meet the 100-watt specifications deployed requirement, deploying under 2 minutes, be either hard or soft solar, not generate a lot of vibrations for the main body that could either affect its orbit or a lot of issues that could be caused by that. While also remaining cost effective around $10,000, what we're looking for. It has to be simplistic and consistent design, and obviously increase the amount of light gathered by it based off those solar panels, side-mounted solar panels.
So we compared patents and previous designs in a decision matrix after doing research on them, and we used our design specifications to grade them. On the grading scale, a lot of them only 3 of them reached a 60% specification that we wanted. But we liked a lot of the ideas that these patents used, and we wanted to apply these to our design. So for our aluminum comparison, we wanted to see what aluminums would fit the body that we want. And we landed on aluminum 5052, 6061, and 7075. 5052 is easy to form when it's soft, and when it's hardened, it is very durable. And it's also it's commonly used in engineering applications, while being $24.62 for 0.125 inch thick plate. For aluminum 6061, when it's heat treated, it reaches really high strength levels and has really good formability when it is soft. It is also a very common alloy for general use and what companies are using right now for CubeSats. And it exhibits really good welding, while also being one of the cheapest aluminums on the market that we could find. Aluminum 7075 is more expensive on the market, and it's not as easy to form when it is soft, but when it is hardened, it can be compared to many steel alloys. That's how strong it can get, and is also generally used for space. For our composite comparison, we wanted to use boom arrays to have soft solar cells extend off of the CubeSat, which would be our big array. And we landed on 3 different materials for this as well. We landed on carbon fiber, acetyl plastic, and polyamide. For carbon fiber, it has really good stiffness and strength and is very lightweight. It's also very thermal resistant and is it's commonly used in engineering applications. It is on the very expensive side though, which is the major downside to carbon fiber. Acetal is resin that is highly resistant because of its lubricated surface. Has high tensile strength and is a good replacement for metals. Actually, we're seeing it being replaced in engineering right now, and it's also easy to machine. And polyamide is extremely thermal resistant. It's also very durable and can be compared to the durability of other steels as well, and is a commonly used plastic, while also being cheaper.
So for our initial sketch, we utilized tape springs to extend the soft solar cells outward, maximizing the surface area of the solar cells while also minimizing the storage capacity. And as you can see in our sketches, how the tape springs will extend outwards and expose the solar cells. And on the next slide, you'll see that here's our CAD of how the tape springs will extend outwards. They're in a smaller compartment underneath, which is 1/3 of a U. And the compartment on top is where it houses all the soft solar cells that will extend outwards. And on the next slide, you will see our mock-up of this that we made using tape measures, trash bags, and cardboard of how it would deploy and how it would look when it's fully deployed.
Here are sources and Werwick Systems. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I love that you do so much research, but we will let Glenn ask the questions. He's the expert here.
Oh, okay. So I see that you've got the cloth there that's going to extend out with the tape measures that you've got, but of course the soft solar panels that you're talking about, they're a lot more rigid than these. Are they going to fold up, or are they going to be? I mean, they don't fold nicely, but I mean, how do you plan to work with the solar panels that you're thinking of?
This was mainly for just kind of a idea of how it would be stored and also how it would look when it's fully deployed. We haven't figured out yet just how to fold up these hard solar panels and also how to orient them properly, because this is kind of just a mock-up for now, just to kind of get an idea of how it would deploy and how it would store. And just kind of how once we probably improve our mock-up and potentially get to the point where we can imitate the solar cells, then we can properly think of how to fully store them and also deploy them.
Okay, and I'm all right with that. So, are you convinced that you want to stay with the flexible solar panels, or are you open to using the rigid panels? What are you guys thinking about?
I think we're gonna stick with the soft solar cells because it's easier to store than the rigid solar cells, because they're able to be malleable a little more than the rigid solar cells, and just makes storing them much easier than the other type.
Okay, and I'm okay with whichever one you choose. Now I did a search where I just typed in solar cells or small solar cells, and I found that I could get the rigid ones, and they were like 2 inch by 1 inch, and they were what was it? And they were like $16 for 100 of them, right?
Mhm.
And so and then I also saw the flexible solar panels. Those are also available fairly cheaply. Now, and so my suggestion is just that, you're trying to get the materials that are going to have a similar kind of rigidity and flexibility. And so I mean, the you might look at just buying some solar cells. It doesn't mean that you have to wire them up or anything, but it gives you another opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to
Yes.
see how they would actually work in
Yeah,
real.
and you might just buy one and be able to see if you can find something that has that same kind of flexibility or something like that, and see what you can do with it. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what you're doing now. So, and in this particular example, I see uh, a a tape measure is really good at coming in, but how are you going to push it out?
So this is actually not there's not a tape measure under there. We genuinely just took the tape measure part out of it and just cut it up. So
That's
the
fine.
idea is the rigidity of the yellow part, I guess. I don't know what it's actually called. Itself keeps it straight. So when it's rolled up, it does force itself outwards, though it's in its current state, it kind of just explodes out a little bit like a spool.
Hmm.
And the idea is we have to workshop how we're going to contain that into a uniform motion.
Okay. And I'm okay with all of that. It looks like that you could expand it out with a single motor that kind of pushes it
Yeah.
out from the four
Yes,
different locations. Is that what you guys are thinking about?
Yeah, we were thinking about that. Yes.
potentially, or using mechanically, like the rigidity of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And those are all perfectly fine. I mean, it's one thing, you know, so Um, I'd prefer to, if it was me, I would prefer to not use a motor just because that means I have to have extra wiring and all kinds
Yeah.
of things. Whereas
Yeah.
being able to use some kind of a spring to push it out might be easier. And it's just a matter of how do you work that spring so that it goes in the direction that you want, right?
It would be like a reverse constant force spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We looked
And
a
it
little
might be
bit
just
into
that
that.
it might just be that simple, right?
Yeah.
It's what direction do you attach the spring onto your tape measures? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are just they're a spring steel, and so it may be fairly easy to do that. Um, and I'm okay with them. You know, you don't have to try to scratch off the measurements that are on it. That can actually be really valuable for you as well.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. Um, so um, the difficulties that I'm seeing is just being able to figure out how you're going to do the comparison between the cloth and the solar panel material. But the
Yeah.
only way to do that is just by getting a piece and trying it out
Yeah.
to see what it's going to do.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
um, have you thought about that box that's going to hold those tape measures?
Partially, we thought of a way of rolling them up, but we're still thinking of new ideas that could possibly improve it. But we're still kind of on the idea of using this kind of deployment system, but we're still thinking of methods on how to fully deploy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, um, have you experimented at all with how the cloth would be fitting inside? And I guess the box would be kind of on top. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another question, are you planning to have your solar panels so that they're only pointing in one direction, or can you do it in two direction? One put solar panels on both sides.
We could do it in both sides. There's nothing really stopping us from. We just haven't really thought about that in like the power calculations kind of.
Sure. And I think your bigger restriction is probably your volume of the container, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And just as another thought, you know, the one use space, does that need to contain, or does there need to be a box that contains it?
I don't actually know. It never really specified that on the launch. I kind of imagined there needed to be something to hold it in place as it was like sprung out of the those deployer like chutes on the ISS.
Sure.
But I would assume so is my answer.
You don't need to, right? So if you want to have a rigid box that it's all contained in, that's perfectly fine. Or you can just have it all it needs to do, excuse me,
God bless you.
all it needs to do is take up that volume of space. But you don't
Mm.
necessarily need the box itself. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Flo, you got any thoughts for him?
No, I love their idea, and I appreciate your comments tremendously, Glenn. That's really a big help. So keep up the great work, guys,
Right.
and and I would listen carefully to Glenn's suggestions.
Mhm.
I don't know
All
what
right.
happened. I
Yeah.
got kicked off.
You're yeah,
Uh,
but you're back. You're back. All right. Did you have any other question for Glenn?
um, do you know the efficiency of the soft solar cells we're using?
You're getting kicked off.
Yeah, I'm getting kicked off. I hope everything's all right. One other thought for you guys. Is there a reason that it's got a square shape? Is there any way that you can get some extra space out of those middle sections of your quarters?
We could we're still playing around with the concept of the deployment system, and we're finding new patterns that we could actually use. We thought of some like diamond shapes. We thought of square shapes like we have right now.
Sure.
We've thought about some kind of like circle shapes that would have kind of like an arc at the top or on the sides that would give it a little more space.
Mhm.
But we can
Sure.
we're always still changing it and still thinking of new ideas for the deployment system and how it could orient itself.
And that's fine. It's just a matter of thinking in terms of, if I had 6 tape measures, would that get me further out, or would it cost me room? And so these are just some thoughts for you to consider. Okay.
Mhm.
And
All right.
Will had a question for you though.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We know the efficiency of the hard solar cells we're using, but what's the efficiency of the soft solar cells we're using?
I um what I read was something like 18%. So I think there's a
Okay.
difference between 24% for rigid and 18% for the soft. But I'm
Got
not
it.
positive on that. Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you all so much, and you have a wonderful afternoon. And you can stay on and listen to Billings Career Center in Montana. So we'll appreciate everybody's input there.
All right.
All right.
WIG
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
guys.
me.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
You too.
Hey, Billings, how are you guys doing?
Good, how are you? Doing good?
Doing great.
Are you guys ready for us?
Yes.
Sure, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
You guys want me to share screen?
So
PowerPoint or
we'll
you
introduce
introduce
ourselves.
yourselves? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Owen,
I'm Paul.
and we're from Billings Career Center. We have the CubeSat solar deployer.
Yeah.
You share that.
Share.
Okay. So with our initial brainstorming, it was kind of cut short just because of some time constraints that we had and other projects that we have going on in class. But we kind of came up with our 4 major problems. We wanted to have like a somewhat organic structure that allowed for obviously the most amount of energy to be gathered, and then we debated using spring deployment, motor drive, or self deployment, and then we ended up choosing motor drive.
So this was our first prototype, and it was I wouldn't say prototype. So we were looking around for some ideas, and this is some idea that we saw for origami or whatever. And what we liked about it was that it can compact into super small. It could be rigid, and it also could we liked that it could spring out and have a lot of surface area all around it. And that's what we really liked about it.
So we printed out a model CubeSat, and then you'll notice there's a little slot in the back. That's where we actually put a switch in for our motor. The switch in our final prototype or final project will not be there. We're going to switch to a motor, but for now we didn't have time to get a remote in, so we used the switch. That's our battery holder. It got out of order a little bit, but so go ahead. So this is our.
This is our battery holder, and insider thing, we couldn't have a battery loose going around everywhere, so we designed this and then put it in so we can easily hold the battery. So
and we'll go back down really quick. It's kind of, I don't know. I didn't like how it turned out very much. I want to design it so that the battery is replaceable, because right now it's kind of hard to get the wires hooked up to it. So that'll be changed in the future. I'll do this one. Okay, so this is kind of our rough mock-up. So it's three of those cubes that you saw earlier, and it's basically on each of those surfaces, it's going to be a small rigid solar panel, and then it'll fold up and deploy out, which we'll show later. And our goal is to have at least 5 of these cubes in our final right now we just have 3, but in our final we would like to have 5.
And another thing to add is the reason why we have our sides folded in was the cube actually this was too big. So, and what we also found out was if we had it inside the cube, we needed how it opens a little weird. It twists open. So when it twists, it hits the sides. So I folded in the sides for more room for the edges, and so it can actually fold out.
Okay, so surface area of our solar panels. So in total, it would produce, with just the 3 units that we have, it would produce about 13.6 watts. But if we could get it up to our 5 units, it would produce 22.8. This is kind of just an example of like what it would look like if it was more rigid. Just kind of just a rough thing that we did last second in our house, but yeah.
So this one is where we decided to use a tape measure. We cut it in half, and we ended up, or at least I ended up cutting holes on every bottom, so that way we could fit the tape measure in it. And what we found was, at least with our very first prototype, we got a straw and we were able to push it open. And we liked that idea, but since we upped the scale, we had to get something bigger. So this cut up tape measure actually works really well. We found was that if you push up on the tape measure, it opens all the way up. And we also have a little.
That's on the next slide.
Yeah, is that on the next slide? Yeah.
So this little pink attachment we just printed out. It's just it slides onto the brushless motor and wraps up the. It doesn't wrap up the tape measure, but you wrap it up, and then once the motor is turned on, the motor is very slow, so it slowly pushes out that the solar panel apparatus, and it deploys it. So this is just our deployer. That's kind of what the inside looks like. It's actually, unfortunately, a couple days ago the motor blew. We had it working for a little bit, but it's not working right now. But yeah, that's kind of what the inside basically looks like. You can see the battery holder in the bottom or top left.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I can show it if we want.
And let's.
Just a minute, I gotta stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's really interesting, guys. Did you have some comments, though?
We have a little bit more.
Please tell me more. Go ahead.
I can show you how this works.
You want to do it up here on the demo thing? Switch right here.
So this is just basically what it looks like.
So up together, it can actually go pretty compact, and then like if the motor was pushing on it, it would go boom, and it pushes all the way out.
Very good. I like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to switch you back to the main video.
Yeah.
All right. I've got a question for you then.
Yeah.
So in terms of it looked like you were using balsa wood there. Is that right?
Yeah, so
correct.
we were going to try to mimic the solar panel with balsa wood, and then that ended up not working. So we just left this top piece on because we didn't want to rip the paper off. But that was our goal with that at first.
Okay. How thick are you representing what thickness are you using to represent your solar panels?
How thick is it?
It was 3/36.
Any one?
It's pretty thin. It's like 3/8 maybe, yeah. And I'm not entirely sure how thick the actual solar panels are.
Okay. And that's where I'd like to help. So if you go on and search, go onto the internet and search for small solar cells, you will find that you can buy like solar panels. It's like 100 little solar panels for $16.
Okay.
Okay. So about 16 cents a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And my point is, make sure you choose the ones that do not have the epoxy on the top of them, because that makes them too thick, and they're also less efficient. Okay. And the point is that these are already solar cells. They're probably ones that were used, and so they may not have as much efficiency, but they represent the thickness correctly.
Mhm.
And I believe thickness is probably your biggest issue right now, is that you've got them much thicker than what they really are. Because we're talking about um, they're really just they're kind of like slides for a microscope.
Oh wow.
They're really pretty thin. And I
Mhm.
think that you could get a lot more out of what you're doing there just by getting the right thicknesses and sizes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I like what you're doing. And so yours is going to extend straight out from the solar from the CubeSat. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like that. I noticed that none of them are all, it doesn't look like any of them are all pointed in the same direction at the same time. Is that accurate?
Yes.
I mean,
If
I think
it's-
it was just how this came out, but it would be also super easy to not have it go all the same direction. You could
Well,
maybe
and
twist
that's
them.
that's not all bad, because what it means is no matter what direction you are pointed, you're getting some solar energy at any given time. And
Mhm.
so I think that there's value to exactly how you're doing it and they uh, how much they are pointed different than the other one. I don't know what that quality is, but it's something that you guys can measure as well. Okay.
Right.
I think it's looking really good, guys, and I think that you can definitely get five of those stacked together without too much trouble within the space that you need. Now, another question for you: you've got you've got that base box.
Right.
Does there need to be a box?
You like a you mean to put our
Put the cube.
to put the solar panel in? You mean? Or
Yeah.
like-
Do you need to have a cube?
well, we have our pretty much it's kind of attached to the walls of the cube. So as of now, I would say yes, but that could change.
Now, and so can you put solar panels on the outside of that cube?
I thought one of the requirements was that we could not do that.
Oh no, not at all. You can use any surface area that you want as long as it fits within your space. Does that make sense?
So then, yes, we could. I guess for some reason I thought
Okay.
that was the requirements.
Yeah, so you're welcome to you're trying to get as much power as you can,
Mhm.
and the only way you're going to get it is with more solar cells.
Right.
And so you're not required to have the box, but if the box helps you with your deployment, that's perfectly fine. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we clarify this a little bit? So really your satellite is going to be a 3-unit satellite, and you have 1-unit space to put your solar panels. And it doesn't have to be separated, is what Glenn's saying, is you don't have to have a wall between your solar panel and the 2 units of the experiment. Is that right, Glenn?
Yeah. I mean, you're probably going to need some kind of a base, but does it need the walls that are up on the side? That's up to you.
Okay. That's good to know.
So another thought with that, so let's say that you do need some of that box.
Mhm.
Can you have the sides of the box flip down and be in perpendicular to your other solar panels?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that would.
So
I think
these are just options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't understand that part about using the sides of the box to flip down. And I let my kids believe that they just deploy out of the door. Can they deploy out of the other sides of the?
Okay, so the deployer is different, right? So we have a deployer that opens up and the satellite comes out. Your box, you can do whatever you want with your 1U box.
Okay.
Can the sides, if these are the sides of your 1U solar panel box, can they do this? Yeah, they can. You can make the sides of it do whatever you want. Some people have a top and a bottom, and the top part comes off and the other sides fold out. I don't care what you do with that box. If you have to have a box, you can have a box. If you want it to be an accordion that just fits within that volume, that's perfectly fine as well.
So what it means is if they wanted to deploy, let's say 2 of their origami arrays, they could do one from each side and it would deploy. Is that right?
What do you mean by each side?
Of the box.
Yeah, okay. So if my satellite is deploying in this direction, do you want them to go this way? Yeah, you can go that way. Do you want them to go outward like this? That's fine. I don't have a preference for what direction. So okay. So what if you had one of your origami boxes that open, 2 of them go this way and 2 of them go this way? That's also fine. Yeah. You can make it go in any direction you like, as long as it fits within that box area.
So I guess one question I have is, but did you say it was attached to the other 2 units somehow?
It still has to be attached, otherwise you won't transmit power to it, right?
Okay, so we probably couldn't obviously go back into the other units, but any other.
No, you couldn't go back into it. That's right.
Right.
And so you saw that there's a connection. There's an electrical connector that has to be able to go from yours into the satellite, right?
Okay.
Yeah, this actually helps a lot because when we were thinking about it, there was a problem. If the sun was exactly facing away from it and it was coming out this way, we're like, what do we do? So having it come out the side or having it like 2 ways actually helps a lot. So
sure. And just to be realistic, there's going to be times when it may be in the sun area or in an area where it gets sun, but just because of the way it's pointing, it's not going to get as much power. Yeah, and so you're just trying to minimize those times so that it's getting power as much as possible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent job, guys. I like your ideas here. Keep going with this.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. That's important information. So thank you. All right. Did you have any other question?
I think I'm good.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I like your design. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon there. Yeah. I love the origami aspect.
I do too.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank
you, guys. All right. So I have Wyoming Indian High School, which I don't see on, but I do see PCTI. So we could use are you ready?
Well, we just got into class, so we can be, but you're going to have to how are you, Glenn? We haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? So we're just trying to get everybody settled. If you can give us like 3 minutes, we can be ready.
Yeah, well, get ready. And if the other teams come, we'll keep you on your right time schedule.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm just going to shut off the audio so that if I have to yell at them, you don't have to hear it.
Right. So I'm going to actually, it's Scott at the Wyoming Indian School, and then it's Dominia at California.
Sounds good. I'll step off for just a second here.
Yeah, and I'm going to text them or call. Hi, Scott.
Hello.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Are your kids going to present this morning on their or you don't have? What
I don't have kids this morning, no.
Okay.
Ours is Wednesday, right?
Yours is, hold on, let me check.
I think all three of ours are on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, yep, all three. You got it.
Yeah, so, and then the biomed team is like
the 19th, the 20th. Yeah. Good. All right. That sounds wonderful.
So.
Yep. Okay. Well, you have a good afternoon there.
All right.
All right. Stay well. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Right, Miss Alvarez. I just talked to Scott. His I changed to Wednesday, so we could do you now.
All right. We're getting there. We may just show you. We have a PowerPoint, but it isn't on my computer yet. So maybe we'll just show you our prototype and what they've done so far. And then if they want to see the other stuff from there, we can do that.
You bet. That's what I like to see, the PowerPoint of the prototype. The prototype is the most important. Good morning, New Jersey. Good morning. And we got Glenn here. He's our wonderful project leader on all these projects, so he's a really good expert. And Glenn, this class, the whole class does the project.
That's right. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, this has been Glenn, you picked such simple topics this year for us. The whole class.
And there's a lot of variety in it, so let's see.
Okay. Go ahead. You guys start. That's our CubeSat.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay, I see. So this is a origami style. So have you ever seen, those pop-out cards that you've seen, and then when you open it, it just comes out? So there's this one that's a hexagon type. So you know how most of the sun's captures from a sphere, correct? So the similarity with the hexagon box, this is half of it. This is proof of concept how with the rubber band using the kinetic energy to potential energy, it could go back up swinging.
Could you bring it right up to the computer? Yeah, give it to your teacher. That's good. Thank you. Now we can see it.
Yeah, it's made out of metal aluminum sheets with your band wrapping it around it. That way it could bring it up from flat to an upward figure. So since this could be flat and compressed, let's say if we use the top, if we have the CubeSat top, if we compress a bunch of these in the box with the Hexacube pop box, and then all of them will release up to the top with a bunch stacked on top of each other. It wouldn't.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's so you're saying that using some kind of a rubber band or a spring component, you're going to have several of them stacked up on top of each other, all kind of pointing in the same direction?
Top of hexagons. Can you show me the slide? That way I can show how it actually looks once it's completed. Not that one. It's not even. Okay. I did not go. Give me a second.
Yeah, so what it seems like what their idea is that it would be flat and then they would pop up to almost like a soccer ball, but in a hexagon type shape.
So they start out flat and then turn into
a hexagon shape due to the rubber bands changing the kinetic to potential energy.
Interesting. Okay.
So we'll stack a bunch of spots up. Potentially, we would like to use perhaps 45 of them. The metal aluminum sheets aren't as thick. They're only like 0.2 centimeters depth if I compress both.
That's his thinking pose.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So. Okay, so they start out flat, and you're going to have you said 40 something. How many?
45 perhaps.
45.
Compressed into the sheet stack box.
So that means that the side ones would have solar panels, but the top and the bottom ones would not need to have that. Is that correct? Except on the last one.
Yes, correct.
Wow. I think that's really cool. I haven't seen that before. Okay. Now, so how thick are you expecting your solar panels to be?
Do we have a number? So here's the deal. We're really at a crossroads right now. We have 3 different designs, 2 using an origami type thing and 1 using a folding type thing. Okay. And we have very, very different numbers for our solar panel thicknesses. And I'm really not sure, honestly, which one is accurate.
Okay. So let me give you some thoughts. You can do a search, say small solar cells. Okay. And what I found is that I could get 100 solar cells of a particular size. They're like 1 inch by 2 inch long or something like that. And they're 16 cents a piece. You can buy 100 of them for $16. Okay. Now, these are solar cells that do not have epoxy on them. Okay. And what happens is a lot of these solar panel companies, they will sell them with epoxy on it because it protects that surface. But if you're going to put them up into space, you don't want the epoxy on there because it absorbs some of the solar energy, and it also makes it thicker, and you don't need that protection. So I would suggest that you go with just solar cells that do not have the epoxy material on them. You might also find that there was a couple of different sizes that I saw. Some of them were like about this big, and they were about this big, right? And they're square, and then the other ones are smaller, but you could put them into different areas. And so what I'm suggesting is you might be able to just go ahead and buy some. You don't have to hook them up to power them up, but you're welcome to if you decide to do that. And these are, there might also be some different shaped ones that have similar kind of prices. So these are up to you guys to think about, okay? And I believe all of these are they're less than 1 millimeter thick.
All right. What would you recommend using for this design? Flexible or rigid solar panels for the solar cells?
And I think you could do it in either one. I think that the rigid ones are thinner than the flexible ones. And I think that the thickness of the solar panels, of the solar cells, are probably going to be a little bit more of what's going to help you out here. When you said 40 or so, I'm okay with that. I think that you may be able to do that many, but I'm not sure in terms of the stacking size. And the other thing that may also affect it is be aware of the wiring, right? Because that wiring can be helpful or detrimental to how it opens up. And it could be that you can get some of the springiness straight from the wires themselves.
And the wire, in this case, could be protected inside of the shape, correct?
It could be. That is correct. Another option is, if you have ribbon cable, most of the solar panels that go to space, they use like a ribbon cable, and that's also a lot thinner, and it could be helpful for that springiness as well.
All right. Okay. We will take that into consideration.
All right. Okay, we got a few more things. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So my idea is just basic solar panel holds. So we thought to have it. I can't really show you because
yeah.
But we thought to just have it all stacked up, and we have some sort of piece on the end part that's connected to the solar panels. And we're thinking of using torsion springs, so that the second that the CubeSat opens, this goes out, and along with it goes the string of solar panels.
I like it. And so you're talking about just making it extend straight in front of the satellite, correct?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
And an extension to just the baseline of the solar panels, we have it. So I'm thinking of using nylon wires to open up and keep the formation of the orientation of both the main backbone of the solar panels as well as the three-piece that opens up. That's really about it.
Okay, and that's okay too. So what gives the rigidity of the solar panels that are sticking out?
Repeat
do
that
they
again?
have any? Well, how do they stay rigid?
I was thinking of using the nylon wires.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking of having it run back through the entire backbone and as well as through each piece, so it'd be perpendicular. So that each one of these, we have 21. It's 21 by 3, so we have a total of like 63 solar panels, and I think the surface area is around 2,500 centimeters cubed or square.
Okay. That's pretty exciting. I like what you're doing with that. Now, here's a question for this one and the other one. What are you doing? So you've got a box right there. Do you need to have the box?
I need to have the box.
That box is representative of the cube.
No.
Right. And so part of my question is, do you need the sides of the box for anything? Because it does have a thickness. Is there something, do you have to have that portion of the box, or can that, for example,
like if it can be scaled?
Well, okay, so do you want to put solar panels on the outside of that box?
No. Not for my design, at least.
Okay. And I mean, if the box is there, it has surface area. And so you can put solar panels as part of that box because it's going to be holding some of those solar panels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. I'm still confused on that.
Okay, I'm not sure why. So you've got a box. Can the box be solar panels?
Well, doesn't it have to dissipate the heat?
Not really. No, they're solar panels. So what I mean is, right now you've got a box. What does the box have to be made out of?
Aluminum.
No. Your box can be made out of solar panels if you want.
Revolutionary.
Yeah, but all right. So wait a minute. I'm thinking I'm getting this. The box fits into the 3-unit satellite, right? But you don't have to have that box in that satellite. You can just have your solar panels in it.
That's right. The 1U that is the solar panels does not have to be an aluminum box. It can be a box made out of solar panels. It doesn't have to be a box. It's just that's the space. You get this much space, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, to have as many solar panels in it as you want. It doesn't have to be an aluminum box. It can just be a box made out of solar panels.
But it is in the 3-unit satellite, though. It's
part of the
3-unit satellite. So when it deploys, you got a 3-unit satellite moving out of the deployer. And
once you deploy your solar cells, it becomes a 2U satellite with solar panels that are poking in whatever direction you want.
So basically, as long as this box is a 1U box, it can be anything we want.
It can turn into anything you want.
And
It
we
just
don't,
starts off as
we
one
don't
U.
have to worry about how it's going into space or whatever else. It just has to be this particular size. That's all I have to worry about.
That's correct. It starts off as one U, and it can turn into whatever other shape you want it to be.
Oh.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to use like a one-time so in order for the nylon to work, I would have to heat up the wire so it goes back to its presetted position. So I was thinking of using like a battery or something just to heat it up to its heat. Is that possible?
Yeah, you can do that. But so one of the questions is, do you need nitinol? And I've picked up some nitinol. I think they're really cool. I've taken the spring and you stretch it out and then you heat it up and it goes back. But if I'm just using it to do this, does it need to be nitinol? Or can it just be a regular spring?
Because you don't have to put it back into the box.
That's exactly right.
Right.
It doesn't have to go back into the box. So you can, all you need to do is, if all you're doing is making it flip like this, back and forth, just use regular springs. It's a lot cheaper. And if you're not, if it's sitting in the sun and then goes into cold, is that going to make your satellite wiggle?
That's what I was thinking. Because I'm pretty sure the way it works is the second you have it to whichever preset position you want it to be, and you put it in cold, it stays like in its regular state. And the second it's reheated, it goes back to its preset state.
Yeah.
Right. So now it starts wiggling back and forth as it goes from.
I want it presetted as a line, right? So that after it's cooled down, I can fold it around it so it can flex. And then I want to reheat it so it goes back to a line so it holds its position, its rigidness.
Okay. If there's a reason to do that, perfectly fine. You use your nitinol wire. But if all you want to do is just extend it out so that it's straight the whole time, then you don't need to use nitinol. I'm okay with however you want to do it. Just have a good reason for how you're going to use those parts. That's all.
Okay.
My design is basically similar to his design, but instead of the solar panel folding in one direction, they fold outward, so in all directions. So it ends up as like a square grid.
So why don't you come up
I'm
here?
okay with that. Can you show it to the camera better?
Yeah, we're getting there.
So this is how it looks folded. Right.
Very good. Keep going.
All right, I'm gonna attempt to unfold it now. It's
A lot of folds. It's a lot of origami on this one.
That's okay. That's all right.
That's good.
And I'm just thinking you're going to use some more torsion springs to be able to flip it into the opening position that you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you show it there, where you show half open.
I saw.
Show it to them.
Okay, so this is what half of it looks like.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So part of the difficulty is just going to be, how do you get it to flatten itself out, right? And I think the key to that is just the type of springs. And it may not just be all torsional springs. It could be that you have a combination of a couple of different types of springs to be able to get the motion that you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. And I like what you've got. Now, when it was all folded up in the beginning position, it looked like there was kind of a hole in the center. Is that right?
Yeah, it's hollow.
Okay. And this isn't a requirement, but if there's still some space, depending on how all of these stack up together, you might think of, how can I also use that central space so that you can get a lot of that as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I like your idea. And it's actually kind of like the example that I gave in the presentation was that, you know, it can go flat in any direction that you want. And so I'm open to that idea. It's not going to be a regular pattern necessarily, but it's going to have a lot of surface area, which is what we're really aiming for. Now, another thing that might help you is, depending on how much space you have, can you put you can have solar panels that are pointing in one direction and then just double up and have another set of solar panels on the other side. And so as this thing is flying through space, you would be getting sun in one direction and also when it's pointing in the opposite direction. Does that make sense? So doubling up in some areas may be valuable, and it depends on how your springs hold it together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excellent job. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
So we were working on this, right? And we obviously have we have three schools of thought here of how we're doing this. And the one thing I don't know, and I'm not really sure how you would even research this, is I don't know how, we don't know maybe exactly how satellites work, right? So the satellite is going, and half the time, every 45 minutes or whatever it is, it's going to be going around, so that half the time it's going to get the sun and the other half time it is not, correct?
That's correct.
So those 45 minutes that we're going to be able to get the sun, if let's say this one is a larger array, okay, of just flat, but it may turn away from the sun faster, as opposed to a sphere type thing, which may be able to get the angles from a different. How do we understand? How do we know how to figure out the efficiency of these things, or how to figure out which power would be more? Like, I don't even know how to start that.
I'm with you.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm not a solar panel specialist, but and so what if you called up one of the solar panel companies and say, this is what we're working on. Do you guys have a way for us to be able to calculate out which shape would be more effective?
Okay. Well, because it seems like most solar panel companies that create are really creating flat.
That's correct.
So
all of your solar panels are going to, all of the solar panels for most Earth things are going to be like that. However, do they have somebody at their place where they're trying to make sales for satellites? Because that's a higher profile kind of thing, and they might be trying to do that. And they might have some software that would help with determining which shape is going to be more effective for that particular satellite or for their solar panels.
We're going to come up with this, and then we're going to start selling solar balls for everybody's room. Have it on your chimney, and it'll take care of everything.
Right. So there's some place where it's the right answer, and I don't know what that is. So I apologize. I wish I knew.
That's a lot of math, I think.
I think so too. I feel like doing it.
Well, ask the math teacher there. I bet you they can come up with something.
I am the math teacher.
But that's why you're asking that question, right?
Probably.
That's good. All right. So I think I understand what Glenn is trying to tell us, that your solar panel and anything that it needs has to fit into this one unit. But once you push it out, it can be any shape, any direction, whatever you want. Does that make sense? It finally makes sense to me. So thank you, Glenn, for your patience with that.
Sure.
Right.
All right.
Any other questions?
Inside that solar panel, we can even have 4 rigid panels that make a secondary box that can almost be the basic structure and have the things open from that.
Yeah. And actually your design that it was a big chain of rectangles, And yeah, you're holding it right now. That's that reminds me of a toy. There was a toy that was wooden and that would open up like that, and you could change the one that's on the top to the one that's on the bottom, and it was all these little rectangle wooden pieces were attached with a ribbon. And I was thinking maybe you should look into the ribbon cable for that.
It's called a Jacob's ladder.
Yes, right. That's exactly right.
I have a question.
Go.
You mentioned using springs throughout most of our ideas, right? We were thinking as a class, would the jerk of the spring affect, like, would it matter? Or we had to like take that into account?
It could, and so you don't want it to just pop out like a jack in the box. You might want to have like some string on it or something so that it comes out slowly. Does that make sense? Yeah. And by coming out slowly, I think we would prevent it from having a wiggle or a jiggle that could affect your satellite.
I have another question. Say I would have, let's say this was like my idea and I have mine vertical, and let's say I use Calvin's idea and his was flat. Would it matter that both of them are in the same orientation?
No. Oh, well, I think that's better because it means that as you're going around the sun, you're always getting some solar energy at so many different angles. So I could see a lot of value in that. So part of your volume could be solar panels that are going to go vertical, and part of it could be some that are going to go horizontal.
I was like, the second you mentioned that we could not, like, this doesn't have to just be aluminum. I was thinking of using his idea as the box itself, and having my idea inside of his. So it's technically one. And hers could pop off.
There could be a combination of different ways to do that.
You can combine all three. Combine all three of your ways.
I don't know if it's possible to combine all three of them, but that's certainly within the range of what is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Your biggest constraint is not the weight of your solar panels. The bigger constraint is the volume that you have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the 10 by 10 by 10, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's your biggest constraint with solar panels is how much volume do you need for them to be able to deploy.
Right. And if you have a battery, that has to be included in your volume, whatever you use to do that. But once it goes out, it could be as big as possible.
Well, and I would try to use just the compression of your springs as your motive force, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you store all that potential energy in the springs, and then when it comes out, you don't, by not having batteries, by not having motors, you're able to use more space for it to deploy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Keep asking questions, team, and keep going. You're in a good direction. We appreciate that.
Excellent job, team.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a wonderful afternoon, Ms. Alvarez. Did you have a question?
No, I was just going to say goodbye. I think we're all set. I think we're getting there. The 26th and 28th, we can just pick a day? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I actually want you to pick a date for what day you want to go to the critical design review, and then I will arrange everybody else around that. So you get preference there.
Oh, good. We're special. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
looks
good.
like somebody was asking another question. Do
we have another question?
Simon wants to ask a question.
Yeah, come on up.
I apologize. This is a really dumb question, but does it matter how we're gonna push out the solar panel? Because one of the first things we were worried about is we thought it was just like a closed-in box, and then we had the top, and then we had to we were thinking of using like at first we wanted to use like actual electrical power, so we were thinking of using a piston to get the thing out. But now that you said we could use all of the whole space, does it matter like how we're gonna get it out of the satellite? What direction?
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
Not at all. When as it comes out of the deployer, it can start deploying from the sides or from the top in any direction that you like. That's up to you guys.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah. There's not a time frame for how it deploys, right? Like, oh, 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I didn't do that. That was my fault. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So as long as we want to be able to see it deploy in less than 2 minutes, which is a long time for what we're asking for.
It has to be fully deployed in 2 minutes, not
That's
started.
right.
Fully deployed. Okay.
And you probably want to take more than 10 seconds to deploy it, and that just prevents it from shaking and rattling your satellite. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Okay. Don't be afraid to send me emails. You got. I'll take emails and reply to you as quick as I can. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Everybody good? All right. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Flo.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you
See you guys
all.
soon, I hope.
Enjoy the beautiful
We'll
New
see
Jersey weather.
Yeah, it's 78 degrees right now.
Oh my
so
goodness.
it's beautiful.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have a great weekend.
You too. And I'll put it online.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
I can't get us off. Hold on. I'm trying. Let me find where's my guy?
And we got our Westlake in California coming up here.
Terrific.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
So usually we have issues with our slides being shared, so I'm not sure like if that's going to happen again, but just wanted anticipate like that probably will happen. Are we able to share our screen here?
Yeah. So,
so let's just see if it's going to happen, which I usually
it should work.
Okay.
It's like a share screen button on the bottom.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's let's see. Yeah, it's not letting me.
Yeah,
so is
never
it okay?
does.
Yeah, can I share the slides with you, Flo? Like it's on Gmail. Maybe you can pull it up that way.
Sure.
At least. Okay.
Can you send it to Glenn?
Yeah. Yep.
Send it to Glenn. Is that right, Glenn? Are you by your computer? You're muted. Because I'm actually on my private computer.
Yeah, yeah, let me
copy me.
And then, okay. I made it to where everybody has access to the link, so you should be able to open it. Yeah, it's not gonna let me do that.
Should I make it like a copy?
Well, it's because it's a Westlake document, it's not allowing me to do that.
Oh, okay.
So you could make the copy, but yeah, this happens every single time.
Yeah, it does.
I am so sorry. How about we just turn he's got his right here. We'll just turn it around and show you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. I had multiple ways to
try it
out. So
yeah.
All right, where is this? Where's my Zoom now? Hold on. Where are you?
Just scroll down to the bottom.
There we go. Okay. All right. I had to like reveal you that this window was not open. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so here's my slides. Just skip all these to show you my design here. So what I have about 3 stacks, and it all opens on like 4 sides. I also have like an animation to show you guys. So this show up. It's loading. So look how it opens up. So like yeah. So that's my design. And the way it opens, I'm thinking we're gonna use like torsion springs to like trigger the mechanism.
Do that again, could you?
The animation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, here's my animation.
Will you make it bigger? Like full screen?
Full screen.
Yeah, just hold it closer to the computer.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right.
See it.
And so, how do you want to do your deployment?
So
what's going to drive that?
Yeah, I was thinking we could use like maybe torsion springs or maybe motors to like deploy the solar panels.
Okay. And so, so what would the torsion springs do that that you can or cannot do with the motor?
So the motor is powered, so that would require maybe batteries, and that would take up space. As for the torsion springs, you just have them like at the hinges, so that could save some volume.
Sure, I agree with that. And I don't have a preference for one or the other. I like using, if you've already got stored energy in it, then you don't need a driver to do it. So I kind of like torsion springs just because we only have to deploy, we don't have to put it back in, right?
Yeah.
Now, I see that you've got a box. Do you need the box?
The box? Well, we do need the box because we're gonna simulate like if it's gonna shake on deployment.
How do you mean? What does the box do to prevent the shaking?
No, the box is like just showing what the satellite will be like.
Okay.
And the satellite's deploy would be on top.
Well, so what I'm saying is that your box, can you put solar panels on the outside of your box?
I'm thinking we could like put that inside the box or maybe outside the box.
And so, so you've got this box.
Yeah.
Do your solar panels have to be inside the box and then come out? Or can you get rid of the box and then use more of that volume as you can make your box out of solar panels? Do you see what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do is get you as much surface area as possible.
Right. So this is where I think people get confused. That what Glenn is telling you is that box that you just showed that deploys the solar panel, that's also already been deployed out of the satellite unit. Is that right, Glenn?
No. So you've got a satellite that is 3U. Okay. Your solar panel is 1U, but it does not have to be an aluminum box. It can be all solar panels if you choose. All you're trying to do is deploy as much flat polar solar panels that you can, so that you can get as much power as possible. So
I'm going to ask one quick question. Was that box were you thinking that was the actual satellite itself?
Yeah, I was thinking that box.
So the box was the satellite
itself,
not part of the deployment of it. He was just showing what it would look like on top of the satellite itself.
Okay, show me that deployment again.
So the cube itself was
the box. Yeah.
Not the deployment of the satellite.
Okay.
It's not his solar panel. It's just saying, hey, this is the satellite, and this is how the panels would deploy off of the satellite.
Okay. All right. So the mission here is that you get 1U of your of the 3U, and how that 1 unit of satellite operates is up to you. So you don't have to start with a cube. The other 2U has all of the satellite components in it. Mm-hmm. And so I want you to take the 10 by 10 by 10 of centimeters of space, and you can turn that into any amount of solar panels to be able to get the most power out of it as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, Glenn, then the 1U will be empty after they deploy the satellite.
That's correct.
Okay. That makes sense.
You can get more power out of that. I like your deployment. I think it looks really good. And the way that it folds out is terrific. but you can also get more power out of using those sides of the cube. Is that okay?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. All right. Now, so have you looked at the thickness of your solar panels?
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe the solar panels could be like 2 millimeters, and I scaled it correctly with the model.
Okay. I think 2 millimeters is much thicker than what the solar panels are. And
Really?
one thought I have for you is if you do a search, you can probably find some solar panel, do a search for small solar cells. And I think what you'll find is you can get a stack of 100 solar cells for about $16. Now you can use those if you want, and you don't have to wire them up, but you want to represent it as best as you can so that those solar cells are less than a millimeter thick. And you can get a lot more solar cells out of it when they are really thin like that. But then, of course, you still have some kind of a hinging mechanism, whether it's the tape or whether it's the wiring. Things like that are going to also affect how it deploys. And so I want you to, even if you don't wire it up to power it, you can use some of these different things to be able to get a more accurate picture of how these are going to fold out as you deploy it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Very good. Other thoughts, Flo?
No, I like I like how it folded up and folded out. You don't have to fold it back up. Once it's out, correct, it stays out. So you don't have to worry about that. But it's pretty cool design. Thank you,
any other questions,
Jim, for doing that. He's working a team of one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just him. The other group are doing the bio stuff, so he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Good. Biology is always stinky. So.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry for being late, but thanks for squeezing us in.
Oh, no problem at all. That worked out just well. Okay. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, and Billings is still watching, so that's good.
Yeah, they all